It has always been said that one person's trash is another person's treasure, but what happens when you have a pile of items whose value you don't know? Over the past years, I've collected lots of books, whether carrying on existing series or just books I'm excited to read. I love having a TBR of books to choose from, but my pile of unread books is currently sitting at around 300, whereas I would rather it be a much less overwhelming 50 or so. Whilst I love having options to pick from, too many options inevitably just give me decision paralysis. So, over the course of this video series, I'm going to look at reducing my physical TBR down through a series of games, prompts, and good old-fashioned randomised picks. Thankfully, I'm not much of a mood reader, and challenges are actually a way I have found which really gets me excited to read and keep reading. I hope to discover how many of these unread books become treasures I can add to my collection, or ones I will trash, by which I mean I'll be donating or passing those on to other people who will hopefully find in them a new treasure now it's free from my hoard. Hi friends, welcome back to the Infinite Library, and today we are going to be starting the 4th episode, I believe this is now, of Treasure and Trash. Can't believe we're at number 4 already, and I actually have a set TBR for this video, which is a lot different from all the other ones that I've done so far. Essentially, it is May at current, and June is a book event that I'm going to called Cymera in Edinburgh, which is a sci-fi fantasy horror book event. There's a lot of authors that go to it. Some of them I've already read from, quite a few I haven't, and as it happens, quite a few of them are also in my existing physical TBR. I just haven't got to them yet. So that is my plan for this episode of Treasure or Trash, is that we are going to be getting through, hopefully, a bunch of these books that I've had sitting in my stacks for a while, in the hopes that they will be ones I love and will take with me to Cymera and, you know, go to the panels and that kind of thing. We're starting off this video with this number of books remaining in the TBR, and I've actually pulled out 6 books for this video. Technically, I've got one more that's going to be arriving in the next couple of days, so that may get added into this as well, we'll see. But for now, I have 6 books that I'm going to be trying to focus on for this video. I don't know if I'll be reading them all. I may be DNFing a few. I hope not, because they're ones that I am pretty excited about. And they're mostly fantasy, I will say, but we do have one graphic novel and one like supernatural rom-com kind of thing. So let's get to the books themselves for what I will be reading. I haven't really got an order I'm going to be reading these in. I'm just going to see how I feel throughout the month. I'm also trying to read other stuff, so Cymera as well. These are just the stuff I happen to physically own. I've got a whole bunch of stuff coming in from the library as well. So because it's almost more of a taste test, because I'm trying to read as much of these authors as I can before Cymera, there may potentially be some soft DNFs here, in that they're books that I think I will like, but I'm not loving them enough to necessarily try and read the whole book right now, especially if it's a chunky one. So with those ones, I will be going back into the stacks to be got to at a later point in time, so they may actually not reduce the TBR in this case, but I'm hoping I will actually be able to get through at least half of these, definitely the graphic novel, and we're gonna see how we go basically, because that is my main focus of the month, is to be reading for this event. So the books themselves. The first one I have, let's start with the only kind of paperback I have really. Most of these are all in hardback, and it is Love Bites by Rye Herman. This is a supernatural sapphic rom-com. I've not been too crazy on like contemporary romance that I've read recently, but this one has a bit of a supernatural twist to it, which I'm quite excited about. I'm really interested in the author's new book that's going to be coming out, which isn't out yet. So I'm reading just their existing book. This is a 2-book series, I believe. I think following the same couple, I assume, over 2 books. This is about a divorcee called Chloe. She's basically bullied into a night of going out by her busybody aunt, finds herself in the goth club, and there she meets Angela, a smart, beautiful astronomy PhD student. They kind of hit it off, I guess, but the trouble is, Angela can only come out at night. She doesn't feel the cold or eat, and she has sharp, deadly teeth. She's a vampire. as evidenced by her coming out of the coffin here. I am intrigued by this one. It is probably a book I would have probably picked up, but not in a priority thing to read, but something that I may have found in the library and been like, that sounds fun. This is really more of a taste test book to see if I like the author's writing enough to want to kind of follow up from the other book they've got coming out, which I'm more interested in, to be honest. This is the book in question. This is more my speed, I think. But I'm going to give this a try just to see if I like their writing. So that is the first book I'm going to be reading. So we have a supernatural rom-com, I guess. Next we have a graphic novel. I actually purposely went and found this graphic novel. So this is actually a new addition to my TBR. I'm actually already on my want to read list. And then I found out the author was going to be at Cymera. So I tracked down a physical copy of it because it isn't in any of the libraries. It only came out earlier this year, I think. But it is a queer graphic novel as well. And it's cozy fantasy, and it honestly sounds absolutely adorable. So this is the restaurant at the edge of the world. As you can see, it's got a really cute, colourful, like almost sketchy kind of style, I suppose. It's also quite thick for a graphic novel. It's like just over 200 pages, I think. But we're following our main girl here called Soup. She helps run a restaurant at the edge of the world, but they're trying to close down the restaurant, which she loves. And she has to enter like a magical cook-off, essentially, to, I think, try and raise funds to save the restaurant. Friends and chosen family rally around her. Everyone knows villains don't fight fair, and this restaurateur is not going to give up his throne so easily. So this sounds absolutely adorable. I really hope I'm going to love this. I want to absolutely adore this because this sounds perfect to me. Like a cozy found family fantasy book about cooking. Yes, sign me up. So this one I will definitely be reading because it's a graphic novel. It won't take me very long. Now we're getting on to the hardbacks. We've got 4 of them and they're all fairly chunky. I'm going to leave the one I'm most excited for until last. I am interested in reading all of these, but there's one I'm particularly interested in, which I'm probably going to read first, to be honest, because I'm really excited. It's a book I wanted to read last year and didn't get round to it, but now I finally have the excuse. So the first book, however, is Snow-Blooded by Emma Sterner Radley. I actually met this author once before because they were at an event I went to. I think it was like a Northern Fantasy Authors event at Warstones, so I do have it signed by the author, but I haven't actually read it yet. It was a book I was only vaguely aware of, and I'd read other books by authors at that event, and I was intrigued by Snowblood, but I hadn't read it at that time. But then hearing the author talk about it, I was just much more intrigued by this book, and I think it's one I'll probably quite like. So let me tell you what it is about. This is about 2 people called Vala and Petrichor. They are members of the Order of Accident, an assassin's guild tasked with keeping order in the rough city of Winterstock. So Vala uses her brawn to survive while Petrichor strives to be a gentleman assassin, and they're given a very big job to kill the mysterious leader of the city's illegal magic trade. However, it's a recipe for disaster. Oh, and they're rivals. And they've got other stuff going along as well. And yeah, secrets bubble to the surface. The duo must outwit the thugs on their tail, keep Ingrid alive, who is someone who Vala is trying to protect. Oh, an aristocrat. There we go. And hardest of all, work together without murdering each other. So it sounds really fun. Like a very swashbuckling kind of book. Very adventurous. So yeah, looking forward to trying this one out. I think it's going to be a really fun read, to be honest. Oh, there we go. I've got Frances White, who was also at that event, as I blurbed it. She says, bursting with twisty intrigue and 2 leaves whose tongues are as sharp as their knives. So yeah, this one I'm going to be getting to. Then we have another new-ish release. It came out at the start of this year, and that is Daughter of Chaos by A.S. Webb. I was mostly intrigued about this one. I have the Waterstone Special Edition, by the way, because Yalk were doing a lot of fuss and hype for this book, even though it wasn't out yet, and they gave like a promo code for it. Oh, funnily enough, also blurbed by Frances White. Very funny. And I've read almost all the other authors that blurbed this. But yeah, it sounded interesting. Maybe not something I would have necessarily picked up. Because there was a discount code, I did end up picking this up earlier. I also find it really amusing because the main character's name is Deny. And that is actually one of my friends' names as well. So this one is set in ancient Greece. It is basically about this girl called Deny, who's a fisherman's daughter. She eats a mysterious golden apple. And then I believe she has a kind of mission that is from like a prophecy where she is supposed to hunt down the gods and she ends up encountering and befriending Heracles, but denies Destiny not to fight beasts. She will hunt the gods. She will drag them screaming from Olympus. So yeah, that sounds fun. I'm getting quite into Greek mythic retellings again after being a bit burned out from them recently. And I've just finished reading Mythos by Stephen King. So like all of the mythology is quite high up in my mind right now, which should be good for reading this, I think. Intrigued by this one. I don't actually think the author is Greek. I'm not really sure. They're a London-based writer, and this is their debut novel. I don't know if they actually have a Greek heritage or not. I would be interested in finding out. I actually do. I'm half Greek on my father's side. But I would be interested to see if they actually do have a Greek heritage or this is just inspired by it. I don't know. So that is book number 3. 4 even. Next we have another book that I feel like I've just been meaning to get to for ages and I just haven't got around to it, and that is Faebound by Sarah L. Arifi. I do actually have the first book in her earlier series, which is The Final Strife, but it's quite a bit thicker than this one. This is not a bad size, so I've chosen to prioritize Faebound over her other book for this video in the hopes I'll actually get to it in time, just because I've got so much to read. So this is a queer book, I believe, about fae and elves. It was getting a lot of hype last year, but I've also heard really mixed things about it. Like, some people seem to really like it and some people are just like, it's fine. And I don't know where I'm gonna sit in this, to be honest. But it is about 2 sisters, one called Yeren, who is a warrior in an elven army, and her sister Lettel, who is a diviner. Both sisters are forced from the terrifying wilderness beyond the borders, and there they encounter the Fae court, where they get torn between the loyalty to each other, their elven homeland, and their hearts. I think the second book for this is out now. I believe it's going to be a trilogy. But yeah, I am intrigued by this one. I love the cover, I will say. Like, the original colour, I honestly like so much better than all the other variations there is for it. I really want to like this. I've been wanting to try Sarah L. Arifi for ages, so we'll see if this one works for me or not. And then the final book I'm going to be reading, which is my most anticipated book, is Long Love Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. I have the Fairy Loot edition because it was actually as expensive secondhand as it was to get the regular edition. And I almost bought this so many times last year. Like, that cover art alone is stunning. I absolutely adore it. I love the premise for this. There's been a lot of, like, in manga and light novels with ordinary women becoming like villainesses in fantasy lands, and that's kind of what happens here. Our main girl called Ray, trigger warning, I believe she has like a terminal illness, potentially cancer, so that is something that you have to be aware of going in, because like she is going to die essentially. But she ends up striking a magical bargain that lets her enter the world of her favourite fantasy series. However, she is not the heroine, but the villainess. So we're seeing this from her perspective. Expect a rogues gallery of villains, including an axe-wielding maid, a shining knight with dark moods, a homicidal bodyguard, and a playboy spy master with a golden heart and a filthy reputation. This sounds really fun. I really just want a very fun, sassy, badass kind of adventure from this. Honestly, I want this to be what Assistant to the Villain was not. I really didn't enjoy Assistant to the Villain, and I want this to kind of fill what I kind of wanted that to be, and it just sounds really fun. A story for anyone who's ever fallen for the villain, and she is the villain in this, and I hope I fall for her. Really excited to read this one. I actually can't wait to get to this one. I think it's going to be really fun. I just hope, yeah, I love it. I know Kristen from Lit Couture really loved it. Hoping it's also going to be a winner for me. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I'm going to be reading throughout this video. I think like the most I've done so far in a video, but I'm very excited to finally be getting to a lot of these books, and some real chunky ones here to be talking about. So that is it, I guess, for telling you what I'm going to be reading. I guess I better just start reading, huh? Hello! A bit of a rough update here. I actually had a flare yesterday, so I was pretty much in bed all day. But there was like an hour where I was between naps where I wanted to do something, so I actually ended up picking up the first of the Cymera books. I just wanted something cozy and easy to read, and this honestly really fit the bill. This is The Restaurant at the End of the World by Oliver Gerlach and Kelsey Jo Silver, and I really enjoyed this one. This was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was cozy, it was sweet, it had really likable characters, a really nice message, lots of found family. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a mid-4. I think overall, the only thing that's honestly really stopping this from being a 5-star is that a couple of the side characters were kind of two-dimensional. And I'm honestly not that crazy on the artwork. It's a little bit rough at times, and that is kind of the style, but it's not my favourite artwork, unfortunately. There's definitely moments where I really like it, but there are some panels which I'm not crazy on. So yeah, really loved the story overall in this, but some of the artwork was just a little bit not to my taste, but probably to other people's taste. So yeah, a success with the very first book of this. It's definitely going to be a treasure. I can definitely see myself rereading this. It's just a standalone 1 volume, which is always nice, but I would definitely check out more from this author, and hopefully, yeah, he does more stuff in the future, because I really just love the storytelling that was done in this, and I felt so much for our main girl Soup as she's kind of discovering things about people like she thought she trusted, discovering things about herself, learning to be confident in herself and trusting in herself, learning to see from other people's perspectives as well, all this through the lens of food. I really enjoyed this one. It was really good. So next, I wasn't gonna start a shorter one next. I was actually gonna go for a longer one, but I'm currently reading another book also for Cymera, this, which is kind of chunky. I'm also not loving it so far. I'm only 50 pages in. This might be a DNF, to be honest. It's not really my vibe, although the writing is fine. But I'm going to a Grady Hendrix author event tomorrow, which I'm really excited about in Liverpool, getting to see his show, and then he's going to be signing books afterwards. I am a big Grady Hendrix fan, even though some of his books are hits with me and some are misses, but thankfully his latest book, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, was a hit for me. I really enjoyed it. I think he writes teenagers really well, but I want something a little bit smaller to take along with me for the journey, because obviously I'm bringing other books with me for the signing. So I thought I'd pick up Foul Days, which you may have noticed wasn't originally in my initial TBR, but it hadn't arrived at that point in time. And I did order this one physically to read. This is a fantasy about witches, I believe, and I've heard really good things about it. It's by Genevieve de Movia, and yeah, so I'm going to start this one, I think, on the journey. Probably will get quite far through, because it's honestly not massively long. It's just over 300 pages. So yeah, I think I'm going to be reading this one next, and then I'm hopefully going to get to some of the chunkier ones after this. Hello, I just got back from the Grady Hendrix event, which was really good. It was so fun. He did a one-man show, which was basically the history of witchcraft. Really fun. Some things I didn't know about, some things I did know about, but really well done by Grady. And he was really lovely as well. I got to meet him afterwards, and we ended up chatting about Scream of all things, because I was wearing my Scream jacket, and he signed my books for me. So I have these 3 all signed now. I think he did like little personalization things with stamps depending on what the book was. And I think my favourite one is probably this one where he says, "Hope you survive the Manchester Chainsaw Massacre." So yeah, that was a really fun event. I also did, as I said, start Foul Days. I didn't get too far into it, to be honest, because I had an odd experience, I suppose, before I got to my train, in which I accidentally helped rescue a pigeon fledgling that was being attacked by a crow. So I was not really in a reading mindset after that, but I did, as you can see, start Foul Days. I'm about 90 pages in, and I'm really enjoying this one so far. Giving me like urban fantasy vibes, even though this is set within, it's kind of like a Slavic other fantasy world, but it is almost like urban modern day in some ways as well, and I'm having a really good time with it so far. So happy that I'm enjoying this one, and yeah, I will keep you updated on how it goes. Hello. So I sometimes like to have more than one book going on, and I am enjoying Foul Days, but I was kind of in the mood to pick up an epic fantasy. I decided to pick up Baybound as well, so I'm kind of reading this in tandem. I was just feeling more of an epic fantasy, as I said. I will say I'm not loving this, but I have like had a really bad run of like DNFing 5 books in a row, and I just want to finish something at this point. And even though I'm not loving this, it's an easy read and it feels like a good palate cleanser book for me right now. So I am going to finish it, I think. At the moment, as you can see, I am like about a third of the way through. I'm really enjoying the story and I really like the world building. My issue is that I think some of the writing can be quite clumsy, particularly with regards to physical movements. I mean, the dialogue's good, but I think there's some clumsiness in the writing. And I also just don't care about any of the characters, unfortunately. I just don't like any of them. There's two main girls. There's probably between the two sisters, Yirin and Letel, and Yirin is okay, but I don't really like her. And then I really dislike her younger sister, Letel, who it comes across as like a very silly teenager, to be honest. Well, sorry for the break, the doorbell went because a parcel had arrived from my flatmate. I was saying, the younger sister feels kind of like a teenager to me. She's really flighty and kind of silly. Despite me saying I'm not liking it, I think this is just going to be a 3-star read, to be honest. I'm interested enough to see where it's going to go. I don't think I'm going to carry this on series-wise, and I don't think I'm going to keep this either. But honestly, it's just an easy read, and it's right where my head is at the moment, that this is a good read for me right now. So I'm not mad about this book, even though there is a lot of issues with it. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna DNF this. I give up. I got to the halfway point. We're at a new part and I just don't care enough to carry this on. It's not awful. I just don't care. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna try and find another book. I just want to finish a book. I am here with the happy report that I am absolutely loving Long Live Evil after 7 DNFs. Not all obviously for this video, but yeah, 7 DNFs in total it took for me to finally get a book that I am absolutely loving. I'm about 70 pages in at the moment and I'm just having a great time with this. It kind of sold me right from the first chapter. I love the main character, Ray. She's kind of been plucked out of her real life and put into a like fantasy world, essentially, the world of her sister's favorite book series, not necessarily hers, but she's not really a big reader, so she doesn't actually know all the information, which is quite interesting because not only was she only ever like half into the series, so she doesn't really remember all the details that well. The final book in the series has not been released, so she doesn't know how it ends. She has been put into the role of this lady who is a villainess in the first book and who gets murdered, and she is actually put inside that body on the day before the execution, so she has to think really fast to get herself out of that. I'm just having a great time. The cast is really fun. I was not expecting that, as well as having Ray's perspective, but also seeing a lot from the perspective of her maid, which is quite interesting. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. I'm having so much fun with it. It's very self-aware. The characters are really fun as well. So yeah, just really enjoying this one, thankfully. I'm about halfway through Long Live Evil now. I don't really have much to say in terms of plot updates, but I do want to talk about how damn good this book is in picking apart the role of villains in books and picking apart how women are usually seen as villains in society, how our main girl has been villainized in her real life as well as in this fantasy life, and how it's something that she's trying to fight against. And I think it's just got really good things to say, which is more than I expected from a book with kind of a silly premise. But this book has actually got some really deep things to say about how people are villainized, how people become villains, how people see each other, that kind of thing. Ray, in her other life, like dying of cancer, being left by all her friends, them calling her selfish, like her own father leaving her. Really rough stuff that she's gone through, and I just really love her point of view in this book. She's currently getting closer to Key, who is this like guard who is also an assassin, and she's starting to now realize that the people around her are maybe not these like 2D paper cutouts from the book. She's starting to empathize with them, she's starting to see similarities with them, and she's still fully like on board with her plan of being the villain because this is the right path for her. I'm just really loving this book so much. I'm kind of reading it slowly because I don't want it to end. I should speed it up because I obviously have other books I want to read for this video, but I am just quite happy reading this. And yeah, I don't want to get to the ending anytime soon. Hello, an actual update of a finished book at last. It feels like it's been taking me ages just because I've been reading 2 books at the same time and I've been reading other stuff as well and I've been busy, but I have finally finished File Days. I did a lot of travelling over the weekend, so I took this with me as my travel companion and I got to the point where I had like 100 pages left, which I managed to finish off this morning, and overall I really did quite like this one. I think I'm giving it a low 4. I really enjoyed the main character for this, Cymera, and I really enjoy the world building and all the monster lore and stuff that we get in this book. It kind of gives me Shadowhunter vibes a little bit, except with an older protagonist. And yeah, the mystery was good. It did keep me guessing. I really like how the conclusion was. I thought it was quite satisfying, and I'll definitely carry on this series because this is a complete duology now, and this is the second book. And yeah, overall did really enjoy this. Like, it wasn't a 5-star. I wasn't having the best time ever, and I did think the plot started to drag a little bit towards the end. I was kind of ready for it to be done, but still really solid fantasy overall, and definitely going to pick up the next book. So yeah, this is going to be a treasure. I will be keeping this. I will be carrying on this series. And whilst I'm here, I may as well update you on Long Live Evil, which, as you can see, I am very close to finishing now. I have about 150 pages left. We'll probably finish this quite soon. I'm still just having the best time with this. A 5-star read, it sure is. So I need to pick my next book now. Not really sure what I'm going to go with, so let me go and have a look at my pile quickly. So we still have these 3 that I want to try and get to. I don't really want to start another chunky fantasy just yet whilst I'm still reading Long Live Evil. So I think I'm going to be between Love Bites and Snow-Blooded. I'm kind of feeling more Love Bites right now, just because I'm kind of in the mood for more of a lighter read at the moment, which I know this will be because it's a rom-com. I want something that is not going to be too hard on my brain, I think. I do really want to get to Snow-Blooded soon though, however, because I'm actually going to an event not this week but the week after where the author is going to be at, and I have already met the author before and do actually have my copy already signed, but I would like to actually go to the event having read the book finally to be able to engage more in the conversation that's happening. I don't see this taking me very long to read, to be honest, because romances are usually quite quick unless I'm having a bad time. So I think I might pick this one up, and then as soon as I finish Long Live Evil, which will probably be another day or 2 at this rate, I'm going to start Snow-Blooded, I think, because I really do want to get to that one. Hopefully I will also love both of these. This is the one I'm really not sure of because rom-coms are so hit and miss for me. They're mostly missed, to be honest, and I want to love this because it's sapphic and I want to read the author's new book, which sounds really good. This is the only book they have out at the moment, this and its sequel, I believe, and it does sound fun as well. I just don't know if I'll click with it or not, but I'm really hoping I do. Hello, I just came back from my night out. I went to see Ostentatious. Got a very cute little pin, and they had some of their shows as downloads, so I picked up, because I had to pick this one up of course, is Queer as Folkestone, and it was really fun. If anyone doesn't know what it is, they are an improv group and they do Jane Austen style plays, but it's totally improvised. They come on the day and the audience yells out show names. That is going to be the story and they have to just work with it essentially, but really, really fun. Great time. Hello, I'm here to say I finished Long Live Evil and I just had the best time with this book. Truly, this book just had me kicking my heels, giddy. I enjoyed all the twists and the turns. I really love all the characters. I cannot wait for the second book in this series. It was just so good. It went kind of in the direction I was hoping it was going to go and then pushed it further, which was a really nice surprise. And yeah, definitely a treasure, an easy 5-star. I just absolutely adored this book. From our main character having so much to her, to all these side characters who you're kind of you begin thinking they're just these 2-dimensional characters, and then you start seeing things from the perspective, and then the main characters start realizing that whilst they are in a book, these characters are still real and have feelings. Yeah, it got really deep and I really loved how that went, and I loved how it decided to play with the rules of the world and then twist and break them. A really, really solid fantasy. So happy that I finally got around to reading this. So I started Love Bites the other night. I am about 80 pages in and I'm really liking this so far. This is actually really not a romantic comedy. It's much more of a drama. We're seeing things from both characters' perspectives. Both of them are not in a great way mentally, seeing how they're trying to exist and move forward with what's happened to both of them, which is a nice little parallel. And yeah, I'm really liking it so far. I think because it isn't super comedic, it's kind of working better for me, and I really do like both characters so far. We'll see how it goes, because I'm not like in love with either of the characters, but I am interested in where this is going. Not bad so far. It's completely readable and I am liking it. So I'm now at the halfway point in Love Bites. They are officially an item and have hooked up. It's all very cute. I don't know if I'm really that interested though, I've gotta say. I do like the writing. I really like this. It's not a rom-com, it's very much more of a drama, but I'm just not particularly invested. So I'm actually leaning towards DNFing, which I really didn't feel like I was going to do in the first part of this book. I might just actually put it aside for a little bit, try the next book on the list, and then see if I feel like picking it up again. Like, it is an easy read, although it's definitely kind of on the morose side, I would say. Laugh Out Loud is very much not what I would call this book, but I'm just not super invested in either of the characters, and now they're together and I kind of have an idea where the plot's gonna go. Like, she's gonna find out that she's a vampire, the evil ex is probably gonna come back, they're gonna like overcome it together, and that's probably how the plot's gonna go, and I just don't know if I really care enough to read enough. How much is there left? I'm 100 page 63 at the moment, and there's about 363 pages, so that is like another 200 pages or something. I just don't know if I care enough. So I might pick up Snowblooded, because I have to read that for my book club anyway in the next week or so. Begin that, and then see if I feel like coming back to Love Bites later on, and maybe I will try and finish it. I don't know if I'm invested enough to like pick up the sequel though, unfortunately, but I do like the writing, so I would definitely be interested in picking up the new book that Ry Herman is coming out with, which is honestly the whole reason why I'm trying him anyway, because I'm really interested in his new book, whereas this one is just maybe not for me. I just want to mention the weirdest coincidence. Not long before I stopped reading Love Bites, there was a whole like astronomy conversation, and they talked about how one of the constellations was based off the Nemean lion, who was the lion that Hercules killed. And literally, it's just shown up in this book on like page 2. So that's a thing. Love when we get weird connections between completely different books. Hello, I am back at it again with another update. Firstly, can we just appreciate the really nice sprayed edges on this book? I've started this, I'm about 50 pages in. The writing is fine, it's perfectly readable, I'm not having any issues, I'm finding it quite an easy read so far. I'm really enjoying all the Greek lore stuff. I've come to this just off reading Mythos by Stephen Fry, so I'm very familiar with all the world building at the moment. We're currently just kind of fixated around this main family. Denai is the younger daughter in the family. Her older sister is getting married soon, but then something happens to her which wasn't amazing. I don't really like how that was dealt with, but also given the time period, I can kind of see where they're going with it. Basically, Denai's family are on the poorer side and her sister is marrying up in the hierarchy, although it does appear to be for love. But Denai is very much just not really bothered about the idea of marriage and getting married. She's just quite happy just to be living a life. I'm not really getting a lot of personality from her at the moment, I would say. Like, we've been told that she's very different from her sister, who is very the typical pretty beauty who is sweet and kind, and Denai is not that. So like, she's seen as a black sheep of the family. Her mother was always telling her to go do chores to get out of the way, but I'm not really getting a lot from her otherwise, I suppose. She seems to have like basically accepted what's happening in the tribe in the village. Their village, basically their chosen god is Demeter, and the crops have been failing, so they're supposed to be giving offerings to Demeter, but Demeter has not been happy with these offerings, so they have started to sacrifice people to Demeter. 2 girls got sacrificed just beforehand. I'm assuming we're going to be following a little bit more in that plot line of the gods not being happy, and then I guess maybe Deny is going to start getting angry about this, particularly if, for example, she or her sister is chosen as a sacrifice. But yeah, it's fine so far. I'm enjoying it well enough. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more in terms of the protagonist having a personality soon for me to get properly invested in this. Okay, so after much deliberation, I'm gonna DNF Dora Chaos. I'm actually really far in, if you can see. This is like a 500-page book, and I'm on page 260. So I'm over the halfway point. I'm just gonna admit to myself that I don't care anymore. I'm not interested in trying to read like the last 200 pages. This is not a bad book, don't get me wrong. The writing is fine. It's a very easy read. I was surprised by how dark some of the themes were at the beginning, but I just don't really care about our main character, which I'm kind of sad about because she's called Denai. She doesn't have much personality. She's very much just being swept along by what's happening. Like, we're being told things about her, but we're not seeing it, which is frustrating. I was also kind of surprised that, like, the premise talks about how she's going to meet Heracles. It took to like page 215 for us to meet Heracles, which was kind of a surprise. And I don't really like him. There's like a bunch of other characters that have been introduced, and I just don't really care for any of them, to be honest. I feel like I'm being told I should like these characters, and I don't really. I feel like Denai is just very much being swept along by other people and not really doing anything much for herself, and I just don't care anymore. It's not a bad book, do not get me wrong, but I can tell this is only going to be a 3-star, unfortunately. At the beginning I thought it was maybe going to be a 4-star, but the plot is really quite slow in terms of its pacing, and whilst the plot itself is not bad, characterization is just not really working for me. So I think I'm just going to call it here and DNF it and pass this on to somebody else because I'm just not loving it. So I think what I'm gonna do is go back and finish Love Bites. I'm actually really weirdly in the mood for a contemporary book right now, so I think I'm gonna go back and finish this because I was liking it. I just kind of was not in the mood to carry it on. I think that is my plan. I'm feeling more in the mood for Love Bites right now. Unfortunately, Daughter of Chaos is gonna be a trash. I have about 50 pages left of Love Bites, and I know I'm not going to carry this series on, unfortunately. I am going to be unhauling this. As books go, I have liked this overall. I just know it's not a book that I'm going to reread, even though I have liked the story of this. I just think some of the themes are a little bit too serious and dark for me to really warm to this book. Both of these characters are survivors of domestic abuse in pretty horrific ways. One of our main characters, Chloe, is really struggling with depression and suicidal intrusive thoughts, which is kind of heavy. And Angela also now is going down a whole Edward in New Moon kind of storyline, which I'm not particularly enjoying. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to carry this on. This is definitely better than some of like the romance stuff I have read. I just know for me personally, even though I do think this is good, it's not one I'm going to go back to because it is just a little bit too maudlin toned, I suppose. It's a little bit too morose and definitely not the laugh out loud, feel good queer romance that this has been advertised as. I do think that's very much false advertising because this is very much more of a serious drama book than a rom-com. So I finished Love Bites. The ending was about what I think it should have been. I did like it overall. 3.5 I'm gonna give it. I think I feel like it could have maybe been a bit higher, but I just didn't really gel with the themes. But I finished it. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to pass it on, which means I am going to finally start the last book, there it is, for this video, which is also my book club book. So I am hoping I enjoy this. I did read the first 2 chapters the other day just to get a vibe for it. I don't know what this beam of light is doing here. It's very distracting. But it was nice and short and sweet. We were just switching between 2 different characters, so I'm hoping this will be a good read. I might not pick this up straight away. I'm still kind of reading stuff for Cymera at the moment, and I kind of want something short and very different in theme after having like this kind of heavy romance. So I'm picking up a horror. This is Curdle Creek by Yvonne Battle Felton. She is an author who's going to be at Cymera. This has a really bad rating. but I'm really intrigued by the premise of it, and it's pretty short. It's like 300 pages, so I'm gonna give it a try and just see if it is actually good or not. But like, it has like a 2.97 rating on Goodreads, so this is not a well-liked book, but I'm hoping I'll like it because you never know. Hello, I am here with an update on the final book for this video, Snowblooded. Also, I finally got around to building my wardrobe, so I've actually now got my other bookcase finally moved up, so we have a nice wall of books here, and then my wardrobe is just kind of sat at the end. But I really like having this a little bit more visible. It was kind of more in the gloom over there, and it was a bit annoying. Like, my piles of books are still against the wall over there, but it's really nice actually having this as like books here. Anyway, Snowblooded. I started this the other day. It's got very short chapters, which I am liking. As to how I feel about this book though, the jury is still kind of out at the moment. I am about 60 pages in, chapter 11, and it's fine. I sort of like both of the characters. We've got Petrichor, who is generally seen as this like really unlikable guy, but he's also got an awful lot of what seems like PTSD and anxiety and claustrophobia that he's dealing with, and Vala, who is kind of a bit of a stereotype, I've got to say, at this moment, of the brash lesbian, basically. And these two don't get on, but I have a suspicion that they're gonna like get to know each other and sort of get on later, because Petrichor kind of sees Vala as being this very like emotionless, horrible woman, and actually she's very empathetic and she's very charitable. She gives away pretty much all of her money to people in need. So I think they're gonna learn things about each other and like unlearn stuff that they thought about each other, and that's probably how that's gonna go. They've both been given the assignment at the moment to kill what is essentially the most unkillable guy in the city, which is this leader of, I think it's another group of assassins or something, but like no one knows who he is. So they, the two highest achieving assassins in their weird little secret society guild, have been given the goal to do that and work together, which they don't like each other at the moment. It's going all right so far. I do really like how short and snappy this book is. I'm just not super invested at the moment. I just don't know if I'm really in the mood for this. But it's my book club book, so I kind of have to read this. I feel like I'm just going to take my time with it, to be honest, even though I kind of also wanted to read it quickly, just because I'm super not into it. Like, I'm reading it and it's fine. I'm just not really invested and like really enjoying it. And I feel like maybe it's a me issue and not the book, because the book itself is well written, it's very witty, it's very humorous, and I just don't know if I'm maybe in the mood for that kind of thing right now. Weirdly enough, like, I don't really know what I'm in the mood for. Not a big book, which this isn't super thick, it's like 400 pages, so it's definitely not the thickest book I've got to read at the moment, but I don't know, I'm just not necessarily feeling it, but I'm going to stick with it, and hopefully I will start to like it a lot more as it goes on. There's nothing wrong with this. I just think that maybe it's a little bit kind of what I'm expecting, and I think maybe I wanted to be a bit surprised by it. Yeah, that is my sort of update at the moment. I will update you again either when I'm a lot further in it or when I've finished. We'll see. Okay, so it's been a while. Maybe not for you, but it's been a while for me. I have been really struggling to want to pick this book up. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just really not interested, I suppose. Like, I've literally been picking up other books and reading them instead of wanting to go back to this one, and there is nothing wrong with the writing. I am just not invested. I'm still only about 100 pages into this, still a good 350-ish to read. I'm going to try and read a little bit more tonight, I think, because I'm having a night in. I don't know what it is about this, because on paper I should love this, and I don't know if it's just me that I'm not in the mood for this, or it's just that I'm finding it a little bit formulaic in terms of the plot, and the characters are almost like caricatures of themselves is kind of how it's coming across to me a little bit. Unfortunately, I just don't really care. I think maybe I don't like assassin books, because I remember in the first episode of Treasure or Trash I also ended up DNFing an assassin book. I don't know, I'm not really sure what I'm doing with this at the moment. I don't really want to DNF it, but I think if I'm really struggling to pick it up, I may just have to, whether it's a soft DNF and I try this again at a later point, or whether I just admit that maybe I just don't really like this. It's just not for me. So yeah, I don't know. I'll come back hopefully with a decision either way. Hello, an update. It is a little bit later the same day. I did what I usually do whenever I'm not feeling too sure about a book I'm reading. I go and read a couple of people's thoughts and opinions. I tend to check out like the 3-star reviews, which kind of gives a good basis of people that liked it but still found issues with it. And I'm definitely seeing a lot of people echoing similar things I'm saying, similar frustrations I'm having with this book. Although they do say the latter half does get better, but I think I'm just gonna call it with this book and have it as being a DNF. Maybe a book I'll try again at some point, but I am just really struggling to want to pick this up. I will literally do anything, like chores, like house chores, like reading a non-fiction instead, than pick up this book and carry it on. And I feel like that is telling me that this book is just not for me right now, unfortunately. I will say some good things about it as well. For anyone who is curious about this, I think the writing is fine. There's a lot of witty banter. It's not particularly original, but I think it is well done in terms of that. I do find the main two characters, when together, can be kind of frustrating. I've heard that there is a lot of repetition between the sort of banter they have between them. It's clearly going in a direction of they're going to understand each other and probably be friends by the end of the book. But I just don't like either of these characters enough, unfortunately, to want to stick around for it. Both of them, again, on paper, sound like really interesting characters. We have our female protagonist, Bella, who has this like rough exterior. She's a raging lesbian. She loves tea, but has this heart of gold in that basically all of her savings that she makes from being an assassin go towards helping people in terms of charity. And she has this kind of rule basically where she won't assassinate anyone who doesn't think they deserve it, which she gets punished for. So like, she does sound like a good character. I'm not interested in her. She doesn't really come across as someone who I like. And again, she's just a little bit of a caricature of a butch lesbian with a heart of gold. Petrichor is potentially the more interesting of the two. He's very much coded as being neurodivergent, also potentially asexual. He suffers from panic attacks. Unfortunately, I think every other single character in the book basically constantly to his face just tells him how stuffy he is. And that, I think, was getting very tiring because I wasn't really seeing that from his side of the perspective. But hearing it again and again and again was kind of frustrating. But I also wasn't invested enough in Petrichor as a character to want to carry this on, and having them both sharing the narration, it didn't really work for me. I feel like I could have dealt with one or the other being the main narrator, but having them being so different and so at odds with one another, it just felt like too much of a clash, I suppose. Like it feels like it should have worked, but it just didn't for me. And I started to find it quite annoying because them together are quite annoying as well. I don't feel like I really gave this much of a chance, to be honest, but I think I am happy with my decision here that I am just gonna call it as a book that just doesn't work for me. As I said, stressing, this is not a bad book. The writing is good. The plot is fairly interesting. I'm just personally finding it kind of formulaic and it just hasn't gripped me. I do have the book club for this next month. I've never DNF'd a book for a book club before, but I also don't care about spoilers. So what I'm probably gonna do, you may see this either before or after my final wrap up that I do for this video, because this will be the final book I'm reading. I will probably just kind of give a little summary of what other people in the book club thought about the book. To just give you a broader perspective, I suppose, I always find it so interesting in the book club because we tend to always have a good amount of people that both hate and love a book. But yeah, I just really don't want to push myself through this. It's not the thinnest book. It looks thin on camera, but it is like almost 500 pages and I just don't care. So I think, yeah, I'm just gonna listen to the signs that my brain is telling me and not force myself to get through this, because then I may just end up really hating it instead, and that would just kind of suck. DNF from this one, it's gonna be a trash. I may hold on to it for a little bit rather than getting rid of it straight away, just because I don't know, I may decide to try it again at some point, but I'm not really feeling either way right now about it. But yeah, that is the final update of Snowblooded from me. Hello, I am here to finish off this video finally. I was debating reading one more book because I did buy another book that I'm going to be reading for Cymera, but it's not actually a book that was previously on my TBR, my physical TBR, that is. It is a book I wanted to read, which is The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. I also think I'm probably going to read this on the way up to Edinburgh, so I decided not to read another book in this video and just keep it to the 6 books. So before I go over the final results, I just want to mention briefly other books that I have read or have been reading whilst I've been doing this project, which are for other Cymera authors, just to give you an idea of what other authors are going to be there. So, of those authors, let me grab my stack that I have. So in terms of other books I have been reading, I read Best Hex Ever by Nadia El Fassi, which I actually really enjoyed. I took this out from the library originally, but I liked it so much I bought my own physical copy so that I can go and get it signed. This is a cozy fantasy. It is a romance, but the romance was actually not my favourite part. There was a lot of really good stuff, like focus around her family and friendship, and I really enjoyed those aspects. I could have done without the insta-lust, and that got a little bit much, but aside from that, I really enjoyed this one. I gave it like a 4 star, I think. I also read Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I actually tried Adrian Tchaikovsky last year, and then I tried him again this year with Children of Time, and that book just didn't really work for me. I DNF'd it both times. I got a little bit further in it this time around, but I wasn't really connecting to it, and I don't think, like, it's quite humorous, Children of Time, and it wasn't really my kind of thing. But Elder Race is almost more fantasy than it is sci-fi. It is sci-fi, but it reads a little bit more like a fantasy, and I enjoyed that one a lot more. I gave this like a low 4, I think, and whilst I liked it, I don't think it's one I'm going to pick up, and I don't know if I will read more Adrian Tchaikovsky. I might try like some more of his standalones, and maybe I'll try him again one day, but I'm not really sure he's the author for me. Those were 2 of the other books that I read. I also did DNF quite a couple, which I'll briefly go over. I don't have any of them physically apart from this one because I haven't taken it back to the library yet, which is Curdle Creek by Yvonne Battle Felton. This was a really interesting sounding, but I just wasn't clicking with it, unfortunately. I got maybe about 60 pages in or something, and yeah, it wasn't working for me, so I decided to leave it. It's also got quite a low average rating, so I kind of was expecting to not really love this one. Other books that I DNF'd, they were just authors that I was taste testing them essentially, just to see if I wanted to read the whole book, because I did not have time to read them all, and probably wouldn't have enjoyed them all. If We Shatter, that was another book that I DNF'd quite early in. There was an awful lot of maths, which was very weird in the world building, and it was really throwing me, and then I just didn't really care about the characters, so I DNF'd that one quite early in. I also DNF'd Ascension by Nicholas Bind. I actually got quite far through this one. I got to maybe the halfway point by an audiobook before again I realised I just didn't really care about the characters and what was happening to them. I also DNF'd Midnight's Twin, which was a DNF purely because it was way too young for me. I don't think there was necessarily anything wrong with it, but I read 2 chapters and I think it's YA, but it read middle grade to me, and I was just not really down to read that. It just didn't work for me. Also soft DNF'd The Shadow of the Gods, which I believe is by John Gwynne. I got like about 100 pages into that one, and it's quite a hefty book. And I wasn't super gripped. I only really liked one of the protagonists' narrative, but it wasn't bad. So I may go back and try that one again, but for a taste test, it wasn't gripping me enough. I do, however, have the audiobook for Malice, which is its other series. I don't actually know if that's what the name of the series is, but the first book is called Malice, and that is coming to me on Borrow Box like tomorrow. So I'm going to try that one and see if I like that one any better. I think it's actually an older series of his. I think The Shadow of the Gods is his newer series, which is just either completed or has just had a new book come out like last year, I think it was. Those are all the books that I tried and DNF'd. In terms of other authors that are going to be there that I've actually read from, Tasha Suri is one of the authors. I've read and really enjoyed The Jasmine Throne. I haven't read the other 2 books in the series yet, but I already have them signed because I have the special editions of this and the Oleander Sword. I haven't got the 3rd book yet, but I did pick up her previous duology, which I've not read yet. I'm taking this with me, so I may try and read them whilst I'm up in Edinburgh, we'll see. But this is Realm of Ash and Empire of Sand. I think this is the first one actually. And then this is a sequel. And yeah, I enjoyed Jasmine Throne. My friend who I'm going with has actually read this duology and really liked it. So I brought these just to get signed, and then hopefully I will like them when I do read them. Other authors going, there's Andrew Michael Hurley, which I have seen before, so I'm not really going to go and get any of his books signed. I have already met him and got Starvaker and the Lonely Side. I've also read one of the other books of his, which I've forgotten what it's called, but it's this one, which I didn't love, but these ones are kind of 3-star reads for me, but I enjoyed them enough to want to keep them. I debated getting his latest book, Barrowback, but I just don't trust him to not just be a 3-star author for me. He writes folk horror though, which I do enjoy generally. And then 2 other authors that I've read from before is Ava Reid. She is just doing a digital panel, unfortunately, because I would definitely have all her books with me, if so, because she's one of my favourite authors. But I have read Lady Macbeth, which was probably my least favourite. I read this quite recently, actually, it might have been the last Treasure or Trash episode, come to think of it. And Study in Drowning, which I really enjoyed. It has a sequel coming out soon. And my favourite book is one I actually don't own yet, but that is Juniper and Thorn, which I really loved. She writes very like introspective, very slow-paced, dreamlike kind of books, but I really enjoy that writing. And then another author who was going, who I probably won't go see because I've actually seen her quite recently, is Kat Dunn. I read Bit of Thorn. I actually saw her for the release of Hungerstone, which I haven't read yet. It's a Carmilla retelling, and she has other books, but I haven't actually read them yet. I will not be taking this with me because I've already met her and had got both of these signed. She came to Manchester not that long ago. So there are still a couple of other books as well that I have read that I've not actually mentioned here. I also read Ruin the Witch Queen, which is a quite recently published romantasy. I didn't love it, unfortunately. I liked it a lot towards the beginning, and I was having a really great time, and then the romance started getting heavier as the plot point, and I kind of lost interest. So it ended up being a 3-star for me, unfortunately. It just didn't really work the further on in the book. Another author who's going to be there, who I think is also digital only, is Emily Tesh. I read Silver in the Wood, didn't really love it, unfortunately, even though I know it's a big favourite for a lot of people. It's queer fairy tale, fantasy, romance kind of thing, I suppose. It's just a short little novella, but I didn't like it, which was kind of a surprise for me. I do own a sci-fi book by her too, though, which I haven't read. Also read Prince of Sorrows by Mayfree Wijasekara. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I actually read that as an ARC, and I didn't love it. It wasn't bad, but it was very much suffering from debut book syndrome, in that I feel like it probably needed a few more rewrites. But that is an Indian fantasy, not a romance, I will say. Even though it's tagged as a romantasy, it was very much mismarketed in terms of that. Also, a couple of other digital authors that are there. Sierra Greer, who wrote Annibot, which you would have seen me talk about in, I think it may have been my Goodreads sci-fi. No, in fact, it was my booktuber's favourites. I read Annibot in. I read and wasn't crazy on Annibot, unfortunately. And I also read recently The River Has Roots by Amel Amatar. You probably know this author better for this book, which I haven't read yet. I feel like I'm one of the only people in the world who hasn't read this book yet. But I got an ARC for her new book, The River Has Roots, which I actually really enjoyed, but unfortunately she's digital only. Otherwise I probably would have picked up a copy and got that signed. And I'm also currently reading an ARC by Helen Marshall, which is a strange little magical realism weird book so far. I'm kind of enjoying it, but I'm also just kind of wondering where it's going right now. But that is The Lady, the Tiger and the Girl Who Loved Death. It's hard for me to tell you what it's about, to be honest. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I think it's Russian folklore inspired, and the plot is a little bit like back and forth all over the place. But I also have a couple other books that I'm going to try and still get to before Cymera. One I am currently reading and really enjoying actually, which is We Are All Ghosts in the Forest by Lorraine Wilson. This is a sci-fi but also kind of eerie and slow paced and a little maudlin. And I actually am really enjoying this. I keep thinking I'm like halfway through, but I'm actually only about a third of the way through, I think. But yeah, this was really good. I'm having a good time with this one. And then I have a couple of others that I want to try before Cymera. So we have Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. This is, I believe it's queer, but it's a dragon fantasy. You've already saw that I mentioned I have The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. I have Jackal by Erin E. Adams, which is a black horror that I've actually been really wanting to read for quite a while now. And I have Malevolent 7 by Sebastian de Castell. I actually tried his young adult book, Spellslinger or something, and I kind of noped out very early on because there was a lot of fat phobia and it felt very unnecessary and kind of aggressive. It was basically just used to characterize this one, like the main character's friend, as being their only defining trait, and that they were really stupid, and that it kind of came across that they were stupid because they were fat, and I was like, I'm really not here for this. So I DNF'd that one, but I am going to try his more recent series and see if maybe he has got over that. So yeah, that is all the books around Cymera, I suppose, that I'm aware of, currently reading, whatever. But to get back to this video, so these and one more, which I've already gotten rid of, were the books that I read in this video. We had a reasonably successful video in some ways, in that I got a 5-star with Long Live Evil. I had 2 4-stars with Foul Days and The Restaurant at the Edge of the World, and I had a 3-star with Love Bites, a DNF with Snowblooded, and a DNF with Feybound, which I've already sold on. I was just getting rid of that one ASAP, to be honest. I feel like I gave both of my DNFs a decent chance as well. Maybe not so much with Snowblooded. I kind of still feel a little bit guilty about this one, but I definitely gave Feybound a good chance because I was like over halfway through before I decided that I was not down for this book, and I just didn't care anymore. So not terribly bad. I've actually already picked up the sequel to Foul Days, Monstrous Night, so I may try and pick this up soon. And because I enjoyed Long Live Evil so much, I've also picked up another book by Sarah Rees Brenning, which is called In Other Lands. Not terrible. So in terms of treasure or trashing, of the 6 books, I am treasuring 3 of them, which is the aforementioned 5-star and the 2 4-stars. I'm going to be trashing Snowblooded. I've already trashed Feybound, and I am going to be trashing Love Bites. Even though I did like this one, I just don't think I'm going to read it again, unfortunately, and I didn't care enough to want to read the next book in the series. However, I am definitely going to check out Ry Herman's next book, which is the one I'm more interested in, to be honest, which is this. I'm hoping it'll come out actually for Cymera so that I can pick it up. So yeah, that is the final result from this video. Reasonably successful, I would say. I definitely got through a couple of books that I've been wanting to get through for a while. I am so happy I got a 5-star, and it was for a book that I was really hoping I was going to love as well. So I am like ecstatic. I'm still kind of obsessed with this book, not gonna lie. So we started off this video with 300 books on my TBR. I have now obviously got that down to 294 because of the 6 books that I've read in this video, 3 going onto the shelves, 3 being got rid of. Yeah, a fairly like 50-50 episode, I suppose, again. I hope you found it interesting. The next episode will be coming out sometime in June. I have no idea how many books I'm gonna read for it, that I'm actually really excited, because I'm finally going to be doing more spontaneous reads again, because I'm going to be using my prompt cards for this one. And for me, if it's spontaneous, I read faster. I've definitely read some of these books a little bit slower than I maybe was intending to, because I had that set TBR, and I've also been trying to read other stuff as well alongside. But yeah, really excited for that. I'm aiming to actually make quite a good dent in my TBR. I think next time around I might just try and see how many books I can get through. And I do have a lot of books that are kind of very high on my I want to get to them soon list. So hopefully I will pull prompts that kind of work for that. So that is it for this episode of Treasure or Trash. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, stay safe, stay cozy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!